probably been told your whole career that to get ahead, you've got to speak up, right? But what if the most powerful tool for accelerating your career isn't your voice at all, but your ears? Today, we're going to completely reframe what it means to listen. This isn't just some soft skill. We're talking about a strategic weapon that is quietly shaping your entire career. Just think about that for a second. All those daily stand-ups, the weekly check-ins, those project updates you think are just routine, they're not. They are live auditions. They are the arenas where your potential, your readiness for real leadership is constantly being judged. And the most critical evaluation isn't about what you say, but about how you hear. So the answer isn't just about working harder or talking louder. What's the real barrier that's holding so many smart, talented people back? Well, it's something a lot more subtle. It's often totally invisible. It has less to do with your output and everything to do with perception. This gets to a huge myth about career growth. We're taught to believe that if you just put in the effort, hit your numbers, and be productive, the promotions will just happen. That's the myth. The reality, especially in big, complex companies, is that growth comes from signal clarity. They promote the people who show they get the big picture, and that demonstration starts with how well you listen. You know, the cost of poor listening isn't like missing a deadline. There's no immediate red flag. It's a slow, quiet burn. The consequences are invisible at first, but they add up over time and they can completely stall your career without you ever really knowing why. So what does this actually look like in the real world? Well, you might be a top performer, but this gap opens up between how good your work actually is and how valuable people think it is. Stakeholders start to lose trust. Maybe they feel like you don't really get their problems. And then you start getting left out of important meetings. Why? Because your listening habits are accidentally sending the wrong signal, that you're a doer, not a decider. To fight this, we have to make a big shift in our thinking. It's time to upgrade our definition of listening, to take it out of that soft skill bucket and put it where it belongs in today's world, as a power skill. And this isn't some new corporate buzzword, by the way. The whole concept of active listening actually comes from psychology. It was coined by a guy named Carl Rogers way back in 1957. It started as a tool in therapy to build incredible trust and understanding, and it was so powerful it quickly jumped over to business, negotiation, and leadership. And here's the crucial point. In any modern workplace, listening isn't just sitting there quietly. It's an active, analytical process. It's how you decode what's really being said, how you understand the unwritten rules, and how you signal to leadership that you have the maturity to be trusted with more. All right, so how do we actually do this? How do we build this muscle? We're going to use a framework for this, a really practical and memorable tool called the LISTEN executive model. Let's break it down letter by letter. First up, L is for layered context absorption. A tactical listener hears someone say, "We need to expedite this shipment." But a strategic listener hears the content and then decodes the unspoken layers underneath. Okay, a huge client is at risk, our quarterly numbers are on the line, and someone's reputation is in trouble. You're listening for the why behind the what. I is for interpretive intelligence. Think of this as your ability to take a messy, chaotic conversation and pull out the one clear insight that matters for making a decision. When a leader sees you do that, they don't just see someone who can follow orders. They see someone who can handle ambiguity and get to the core of a problem. Next, S is for signal sensitivity. Every single time you interrupt someone to finish their sentence or you jump to a solution before the problem is even fully explained, you are sending a signal. And that signal often says, "I'm tactical, I'm impatient." In contrast, when you pause and you show you've really understood things before you speak, that signals authority. T stands for temporal awareness, and this is all about timing. You know that impulse, especially when you're trying to impress, to have an answer for everything immediately? Strategic professionals learn to resist that impulse. They know that the most valuable response isn't always the fastest one. It's the one that's the most thought through. E is for empathic, strategic alignment. This just means showing that you get it. You get that the finance team has its own budget pressures, that the legal team is worried about compliance, and that production has its own limits. When you acknowledge those other pressures, you're not just being nice. You're showing you can think about the entire system. And that is a huge indicator of leadership. And finally, N is for narrative integration. Look, on any big project, information is coming at you from everywhere. Emails, Slack, meetings. Your ability to listen to all those fragmented pieces and weave them into a clear, simple story, here's what's happening, here's where we're going, and here's what's important right now, that's what separates real leaders from managers. Leaders create clarity out of chaos. Okay, so that's the model. Let's make this really concrete. We'll walk through a super common scenario, a simple production delay, and see how a tactical pro and a strategic pro handle it completely differently. So the delay is announced. The tactical professional immediately jumps in, gets defensive, and focuses on their part of the puzzle, giving fragmented updates. But the strategic professional, their approach is totally different. They listen first. They absorb the concerns from everyone: logistics, sales, finance. Their focus isn't on defending their own work. It's on understanding the total business impact and framing a clear, synthesized path forward. And this right here is the absolute key. The tactical person might be 100% accurate, and they'll get evaluated on that accuracy. But the strategic person, just by listening and framing the problem in a bigger context, is being evaluated on their leadership potential. Over the course of a career, that one distinction changes everything. So this isn't just about climbing the ladder for yourself. This whole approach to listening is getting to the very heart of what modern leadership is really all about. I love this quote from McKinsey. It just says it all, doesn't it? You can't make good decisions without good information, and you cannot get good information without high-quality listening. It's not just a step in the process, it's the absolute starting point for any good strategy. And this is why this stuff matters more today than ever before. Think about it. In a world where AI can automate all the routine knowledge work, what's left for us humans? It's the stuff the machines can't do. It's judgment, it's empathy, it's deep contextual awareness. And all of those skills are built on a foundation of strategic listening. And this is the ultimate payoff. Practicing this LISTEN model isn't just about being better in meetings. It is a cognitive training exercise. When you start to put a structure on how you absorb information, you fundamentally change the structure of how you think. You are literally rewiring your brain from being reactive to being strategic. So let's end on this. We spend so much of our energy worrying about whether our voice is being heard, making sure we make an impact. But maybe we've had it backwards this whole time. The real question you should be asking yourself is this: are you hearing the organization clearly enough? Its problems, its priorities, its politics, to actually grow within it? Because that is what truly determines your path forward.